Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Friday, May 8th Daily Recap. I'm Evan Lazarus, and we are going to talk some Manic market. The market continues to fool most of the people most of the time. And once again, on the heels of some jobs numbers and Fed head Janet Yellen's comments, the market acting in a manic fashion, and you can see as I eloquently trace out the market's movements over the last few weeks, you can see what I mean by manic. And even if I go back before then, again, still maybe on larger scale, but this violent, wild gyration, back and forth market continues to dominate, and we go from weak to strong, strong to weak, weak to strong, and so on and so forth. Now, beyond the short term, we need to go out, and we need to look at the bigger picture, the longer term chart. And as I zoom out and I look at a weekly, that manic is clearly evidenced here by the last, 6-7 months of trading, going back as, let's say, into the November time frame. Once we hit that November high, it's been kind of this, like I said, zigzag. We had that early year pop, and on the heels of that again into another, larger zigzag. And we went from very weak this week to finishing very strong all in a matter of the last 2 days. You can see as a matter of Wednesday, we were hovering on, breaking potential support down here to consolidating and then having a large gap up in price. This is a very difficult market to trade from a day-to-day, week-to-week standpoint. Obviously, if you're willing to sit and hold through these ebbs and flows, but depending on the time horizons at which you trade and your thesis or basis from which you're trading, whether you're trading off charts or fundamentals, short-term, long-term, the reality is that patience is going to dominate whatever it is you're doing as the market continues to act in a manner that is very, very difficult to get your hands around for more than, like I say, a handful of time. Now, what ideally would happen is here, we will have a breakout of consolidation, or even to that extent, who knows, a breakdown of consolidation of price, in the near term on big volume. That would be the ideal scenario for the market to kind of shift gears and maybe see some sort of trajectory to the upside, or even, like I said, to the downside. Because we could come in Monday and things could certainly change to the downside again. I wouldn't put it past the market in any way, shape, or form at this time. So it's hard to really take a stand and commit money for until you get some sort of confirmation, if you would. As we look at specific stocks, again, you're seeing manic behavior. You can look at the earnings period, and Facebook clearly not well received. Most of the social media names, Twitter, LinkedIn, all taking pretty substantial haircuts in the last 5-10 trading days. While on the other side you have the Amazons and the Netflix that are relatively acting well and look like they potentially could maybe go higher. So you have definitely a market where you're getting both sides of the equation. The Apples of the world kind of sitting in a range still. You've seen some pockets of strength followed by pockets of weakness, but much like the market, not really, making forward progress for more than just a handful of days here, a handful of days there. So it is definitely making the market. You have to be ultra selective with what, where, and why, and when you trade it. Patience is key in this market. Patience is going to continue to be key, and I don't want to sound like a broken record and even imply that there's not opportunity. There's opportunity out there. You just have to be very tactical in when and where and why you are either on the long side of the market or on the short side of the market. You also have to be very quick to lock in gains, as the expectations of follow-through have been difficult to come by relative to what you're trading. Again, I'm making sort of generic blanket statements. Biotech, which has been rather, I'd say as of the last month, more weak. You've seen, strong waves of selling, but then correcting and even today gapping up again. What looked like this, biotechs to me going into today looked like they were, on the verge of potentially setting up for downside, but then gapping up today and closing strong. So now is this impetus to trade back to the higher end of the range? I guess time will tell, but it's certainly, when you're in the business of analyzing risk and probabilities. Definitely hard to get your hands around because of the lack, like I said, a lack of follow-through. Most of the follow-through, or lack of follow-through, I should say, has been coming in the overnight sessions. You're seeing large gap ups in the pre-markets that have been the causes of the shift in short-term strength or weakness. If we look at the spiders, again, just as an example, I'll show you. Let's look at a 2-hour chart. And if if I zoom out a little bit and I'll highlight it here, you can see kind of what I mean, how the market's been, very gap driven in terms of changing the short-term direction. Here's another, gap. Here's a gap up followed by this gap up, So you've had these, and net, if I just draw this, sort of horizontal line, the market's not really going anywhere, but like I said, in the lower end of the range is where we've, you got to look to be a buyer, and conversely on the upper end of the range, you have to look to be a seller. So, gapping up today and trading into this high end of the range didn't really amount to much of a great trade. I know I spoke to a couple traders on the floor today, and you look intraday. Here's today's chart. You got that gap up, and with a matter of the first 15 minutes of the day, you pretty much saw your highs. And the market pretty much went horizontal from that point on, roughly 10 a.m. into the, into the close. So there was a pretty lethargic trade in terms of even a short cover rally as the gap up accounted for, 90% of the gains, which always makes the trading environment, and especially the traders more frustrated. So if you find yourself falling into that frustrated camp, that's fine. I think that's normal. I think you also have to put it into perspective and have some patience. At some point, the dynamic of this trade will change, and it will be a little more, you will get more follow-through in terms of intraday opportunity. Right now, you got to pick and choose your battles wisely. I think there's been some opportunity in some of the names that have had earnings. We saw earnings yesterday from Priceline taking a haircut, and even on that earnings trade, definitely. Still very choppy. The Netflix trade post-earnings has been relatively choppy outside of the one, that first day that it reported. It's been back and forth, but certainly has the look and feel like we potentially could go higher. But like I said, this, we have to respect we have some short-term resistance here, and let's watch how price reacts. So as much as you want to be on, you want to, go after trades like this, or even, conversely on the short side, as there are lots of stocks that have seen substantial, lower prices. I believe it was NVDA. Today the haircut du jour. Copa yesterday, CPA, another one. So there's been lots of these large directional price movements post-earnings that we've seen. So, make sure if you find yourself in that frustrated zone, take a step away, collect yourself, have some patience. The market will continue to trade day in, day out, week in, week out for an indefinite period of time, as far as I know. And that'll provide, down the road, there'll be opportunities where you might get more follow-through. It might be more conducive to your trading style, assuming that, again, I'm just kind of speaking to the audience that maybe finds themselves in the frustrated camp. As I spoke to 2 or 3 traders today, and boy, oh boy, were they frustrated. But that's a part of this business and a part of what we do. So kind of take it with a grain of salt, and remember patience will win any battle, bullish, bearish, it doesn't matter. If you're patient, you wait for good trades, good setups, and things to come to you, good things in the long run ultimately happen. So with that, have a nice weekend, and we'll talk next week. Enjoy, everyone.